After mulling for a while, the centre has come up with its big plan to boost India's next phase of the vaccination. Today, the guidelines were given some clarity, from third doses for those with 60 plus with comorbidities to vaccines for teenagers. India, it seems, is getting prepped up for what some believe could be a third wave amidst the Omicron surge. But what is the reality on the ground? Is the government and indeed state governments panicking too early? Is Omicron really as dangerous as it is being made out to be? Milan Sharma brings you tonight's top story.
Night curfews, booster doses for health workers and senior citizens, vaccines for those between 15 and 18 years of age. The centre and states have activated the battle plan to check Omicron. The biggest step came when Prime Minister, in a surprise announcement, gave the nod to precautionary doses or boosters.
60 वर्ष से ऊपर की आयु के कोमॉर्बिडिटी वाले नागरिकों को उनके डॉक्टर की सलाह पर वैक्सीन की प्रिकॉशन डोज का विकल्प उनके लिए उपलब्ध होगा। 15 साल से 18 साल की आयु के बीच के जो बच्चे हैं, अब उनके लिए देश में वैक्सीनेशन प्रारंभ होगा।
India has activated its share of vaccine doses in the COVAX alliance. We could get about 20 crore doses. 20 crore doses will come from the Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech by February 2020. 17.90 crore doses are with states and union territories. Zydus Cadila will give 1 crore doses in first week of January. Biologically has stockpiled 10 crore doses of Corbevax and is awaiting approval. Serum Institute's Covovax for children is also awaiting approvals in India. Over 16 crore people will be covered under the newly added categories for booster doses and child vaccines. The government has said a person becomes eligible for a third dose after 9 months of taking the second dose.
From 10th January onwards, people with both doses completed and 60 years of age and also with comorbidities, and also those who have completed the second dose 9 months prior to the date who have completed 9 months after their second dose will be eligible for the additional precautionary dose.
In addition to vaccines, the centre and states will follow a decentralized system of checks. Many states including Delhi, Maharashtra, UP, Madhya Pradesh and Haryana have already imposed night curfews. Restrictions will be decided at the district level when test positivity rate goes about 10% or 40% of oxygen or ICU beds are occupied. With Milan Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.
But the question I want to raise tonight is the government panicking too early over Omicron? Because let's take a look at what is the exact situation at the moment. When you look at those who've had Omicron, when you've looked at their foreign travel history, about 183 cases only have been analyzed so far, and 73% have been found to have Omicron, 27% have not. Vaccination status of the 183 cases analyzed, 91% of those who had Omicron were fully vaccinated, 2% were partly vaccinated, only 7% unvaccinated. So one thing is very clear, Omicron is bypassing even double vaccinations. Now India's Omicron tally, and this is only official, numbers could be much higher. Delhi 142, Maharashtra 141, Kerala 57, Gujarat 49, Rajasthan 43, 41 Telangana, 34 Tamil Nadu, 31 Karnataka, 9 Madhya Pradesh, 6 Andhra, 6 West Bengal, 4 Haryana, 4 Odisha, Chandigarh 3, Jammu and Kashmir 3, UP 2 and others are 1. Total is just 578 at the moment. Now, let's raise some questions at the moment because there hasn't been a single Omicron death in India at the moment. Not one. So the questions are, does the government have a battle plan to combat Omicron? Are night curfews really the way ahead? Will they work in checking the virus? Is this an overreaction or a much needed caution? Should lockdowns be ruled out? And will an Omicron wave really be as bad as Delta as some are suggesting? Just some of the questions we'll raise tonight. Joining me now, leading virologist of this country, Dr. Shahid Jamil joins me from Oxford. Dr. Rahul Pandit is member of Maharashtra's COVID-19 task force. And Dr. Jaiprakash Mulyal is a Vellore-based epidemiologist, one of the country's leading epidemiologists, who's also on the national task force that is advising the government on the issue. I appreciate all of you joining us. Dr. Mulyal, tell me, the big question which is being asked is, do you believe that the manner in which governments, both at the state and the center, are going about night curfews, center planning, additional booster doses, is there an element of panic which is really not necessary in the context of the Omicron variant? Do you believe that we need to simply stay calm given the fact that Omicron has not resulted in major hospitalizations in this country?
Well, the answer is very simple. Yes, we should remain calm. There's nothing you're going to get by panicking. However, the situation is not like end of 2019. This is a very different situation. We have every right to remain calm. And if you'll permit me, I'll tell you my justification. Now, this particular virus, whichever form we see, it is a very immunogenic virus. And we know the natural immunity that we acquire after infection is very, very strong. Of all the metrics we use in looking at the COVID statistic, the best one, most reliable one, is the seropositivity rate. It does underestimate a bit, but still that's the best to go by. According to that, by the time vaccination started, more than 80% of the people were already infected, and they have a natural immunity. It's robust, it lasts long. So when we came with the vaccine and gave the vaccine, most people received, do you know what? Booster dose. That was booster dose. Now, what is the difference between a primary vaccination and a booster dose? The booster action is what we expect when the body encounters the same agent the second time. And what we hope by giving vaccination is you give the primary dose and the body will be ready to fight back and recall how to fight back when the actual agent comes. So this booster for Indian population, in a large, from a public health sense, is not important at all.
You're saying something very significant. You are a member of the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization. Is that what you have recommended to the government? That you do not need these booster doses, that there is sufficient seropositivity within the population, and therefore we should focus on building that immunity without necessarily needing booster doses, because that is not the view that many others have. You are saying you have recommended that to the government of India. You don't need booster doses. Focus on allowing natural immunity?
Not necessary. It was my understanding of science. Now, there are other options coming up. I don't know what the reason is. However, there's one group of people who did not respond to vaccination when we gave 2 doses. In their case, whether a third dose of any kind is required is being explored. The booster, the word booster, doesn't fit in that category. That is a separate one. Some people with chronic renal failure on dialysis, they didn't seem to respond. So that question is different. But as a booster dose nationwide, even for the elderly, blanket vaccine is actually showing distrust in the vaccine and the immunity provided by natural infection. So India, from my point of view, is fairly protected immunologically.
Very interesting how you believe that a natural immunity has set in. You want to respond to that, Dr. Jamil, because you've been among those who've been advocating a booster dose. Here is Dr. Mulial saying he doesn't believe that you really need a booster dose. It's a sign of panicking. Natural immunity is perhaps the best way to deal with these new variants like Omicron.
Rajdeep, a little correction here. I have been advocating a clear booster policy. I am not saying that everyone should be given a booster, and there's a difference between that. I agree with what Dr. Mulial is saying. What he's saying is that a lot of people have been infected, and therefore we may not need boosters. Now, I think people who sit on the committee need to clarify what India really wants. Does India want protection from infection, like many Western countries are aiming for, or whether India wants protection from disease? There is a lot of confusion on this. There is no clarity. ANTAGI decided to postpone its meeting on the 24th, and the Honorable Prime Minister makes an announcement on 25th and says that everything was scientifically determined. Who determined it? When ANTAGI didn't even meet, who determined it?
No,
So
not just me. I've got an
very simply
ANTAGI. Sorry to intervene. I've got an ANTAGI member here in Dr.
Yes.
Mulial who is telling me on record that he and others have not recommended a booster dose. They want this to proceed through natural infection, natural immunity.
Well, maybe that's Dr. Mulial's view. Is that the ANTAGI view? I'm not very clear about what he told you. Nevertheless, what I have been advocating is, should India go for a boosting policy, India needs to have a very clear policy and decide very clearly who is going to get boosters, what vaccines are to be given as boosters, and how many doses would be required, and therefore prepare for it accordingly. So there is a difference between what I'm saying and what you think I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not saying that India should get boosters across the board. I'm simply saying make a clear policy.
Can I therefore ask you this, that do you believe that Omicron and its emergence and its contagiousness necessitates a fast forwarding of any such third vaccine booster program, or should Omicron be dealt with very differently?
As far as the evidence goes, Omicron seems to be giving very mild infection, especially in people who have been vaccinated or who have had a prior infection. However, there are people who are immunodeficient, people in whom disease will be more serious, like in the very elderly, and they should really get boosting. For the rest of the population, boosters or precaution doses, whatever you may call, can wait.
It's interesting that you're giving us a sense, both of you, that this is not a moment to panic in any way. But Dr. Pandit, the sense one gets on the ground, night curfews being announced in Maharashtra, in other parts of the country, is that governments are fearing that if they don't act, they will be accused of doing what they did before the second wave, which was prematurely being complacent. What does a night curfew really achieve? There's a huge question mark over that as well. Does a night curfew achieve anything in actually controlling the numbers?
So night curfews, I think, are more symbolic to tell that you probably need to be very, very careful and exert a lot of self-restraint. That's what night curfew brings across as a message. The second possible benefit of a night curfew could be that when people get infected, the easiest way to get infected is when you're not wearing a mask, and that happens when you're eating outside. So when the night curfew is put in place, generally people sort of finish their dinner and everything very quickly. They don't sort of have late night outs, and that might possibly bring down the numbers to a little bit of a control, but nothing compared to a self-restraint and a masking. That remains still the main important message which needs to go across, and night curfew sort of does that. It does put that message into people's brain that there is night curfew. We need to be worried about the infection, and we need to have some self-restraint.
Therefore, you're trying, you're bringing in an element of fear factor. it seems that you're scaring people into fearing that, if you go out today, if you go out in large gatherings, Omicron is coming.
Well, for last 2 years on programs like yours as well as many others, we've been saying every single day, wear a mask, wear a double mask. It's not really working. So we need to have some important decisions made so that the message gets across. It's not creating any fear or panic, not at all. As both our senior doctors have said, we are pretty much aware that Omicron will cause only a mild infection. And barring those with immunocompromised and healthcare workers who are going to get repeatedly exposed, probably everybody else needs to be, self-assured and just complete their 2 doses of vaccine. That's what we need to achieve. But there is no fear mongering here. There is no situation which is being created so that people panic.
Interesting. Dr. Mulyal, given therefore what we've just heard from you and the others, are you still worried that Omicron could lead to a third wave? Or, as you consistently have been telling me over the last several months now, that you believe, given the seropositivity rate in this country, an element of endemicity has set in, that therefore we shouldn't be as worried as we were a year ago?
All these words, booster, wave, have connotation. I will tell you what. The Omicron is a more infectious virus, and if you carefully measure it, you will find it's a wave, just like the Denmark is facing. However, this agent is so low pathogenic in the Indian context, in the presence of immunity, a wave of no consequence.
So are you saying that even if infections increase because Omicron is more contagious, it will be a wave of no consequence? Am I to understand that you are saying that there will be very few hospitalizations, it will not result in deaths? Even if I'm not doubly vaccinated, I am relatively secure. Can you really say that, Dr. Mulyal?
Absolutely, because the individual level, we have a way to judge it. When you take resources from the nation and then start spending it, it should have a scientific basis. And I'm giving you the scientific base saying that, imagine 80+% is infected. On top of that, 130 crore vaccination. India has done a good job. And I think people should feel comfortable. We have done a good job. Not that getting infected was a good job, it was inevitable. This virus is not posing a threat so far. What we should do is watch carefully. We cannot compromise on making sure that if there is a surge in admission, we are able to meet it. And the expectation is from all the countries elsewhere, the surge has been low.
Given again what you've just heard, Dr. Jamil, you're in the United Kingdom where obviously there's even more panic. Is the situation therefore varying country by country? Should India look at Omicron very differently to the West, as Dr. Mulyal is suggesting, because the seropositivity rate is high here? We've heard epidemiologists suggesting that at least some element of endemicity has set in.
Well, if you look at the UK, right, the UK has been heavily vaccinated. Almost 90% of the adult population has 2 doses of vaccine. And on top of that, I think by now about half of the adult population has received boosters. So clearly they have decided that they are going to worry about symptomatic infection and that contributing to more disease. I mean, if you look at the numbers here, yes, the numbers, despite all this, have gone up to almost 125,000 cases per day. India's third wave, if I may call that, is a few weeks behind what we have seen in the West. India will certainly have increased cases. And if you look at the trend so far, the doubling rate of Omicron detection in India is roughly 3 days, which is really the same as the rest of the world. So there is no doubt that cases will increase in India. What we have to worry about is that those cases don't translate into severe disease, hospitalization, and mortality. And I keep saying this again and again, that even a small fraction of a very large number tends to be a large number. So don't panic, but keep your eye on the ball. Don't take your eyes off the ball. Don't be complacent just because we've had a very bad Delta wave and so many people got infected during the Delta wave. We haven't really heard the last on this variant. So I would be very, very cautious.
So are you saying that even though Omicron itself has mild symptoms, because Delta may still be around, because in sheer numbers Omicron could affect many more people, even if a small fraction of that gets seriously ill, that will lead to extra hospitalizations? You're suggesting it is not enough to say Omicron gives mild symptoms. You're saying Delta is still around, and the combination of Delta being around and Omicron resulting in more infections could become a major challenge. Am I correct?
Well, I'm saying that, and I'm also saying about Omicron. If Omicron cases become very high, then even a small fraction of that, if they land up in hospital and severe disease, you have to worry about that. You have to protect from severe disease and mortality. So keep your eye on the ball. Don't panic, but don't be complacent. That's all I'm saying.
Dr. Pandit, presumably that's the message that is also going out to state governments like yours in Maharashtra, which has been the worst affected by COVID, that don't panic, but don't take your eye off the ball. Is that why the government of Maharashtra seems particularly keen at the moment to restrict large gatherings, to push back in a way on opening up?
Yeah, look, I completely agree with Dr. Shahid Jamil. I slightly disagree with Dr. Jaiprakash Mullian, because even common cold can be quite dangerous in some people and can actually, influenza virus can cause deaths as well. So I would not say that we should become complacent. I completely agree with Dr. Shahid Jamil. Even a small number of, say, 1 million cases get admitted to the hospitals, we are going to be stretched. Whether it's Mumbai or whether it's a small city, we are going to be having problems in accommodating these patients. And that's the message we need to give to people. Don't panic, but don't become complacent. I don't know what's the fine line between panic and complacency, but I think the right word is that don't take your eyes off the ball. You need to keep on looking at the situation and self-restrain. Again, I'm again repeating the same thing. Self-restrain, wear a mask, don't go out unnecessarily. Try to live with the virus. It's not over yet. And it is not going to be over until the last ball is played. And when is that going to happen? Nobody knows. So we need to continue living with the virus.
Dr. Mullian, you want to respond to that? Because your view seems to be that the government is panicking too quickly. Do you believe that the focus therefore should be on home care, have a fixed home care system for those who get Omicron, which essentially is mild symptoms, rather than going for any dramatic lockdowns or panic in any manner? Am I correct? You want us to temper down any exaggerated response?
Absolutely. There is no way lockdown is going to help India in any direction. This virus, if it spreads, it will spread. Your lockdown, it will be a cruelty to people. Please avoid doing that. There are a lot of things that lasting effect on our society. And lockdown did last time, and we repeat the same mistake. We will be guilty of actually being negligent.
So are you saying confidently that the worst is over? That even though these variants keep coming, you don't expect them to cause the kind of death and panic that Delta and earlier variants had? Am I correct? That we are at a stage in this country where Omicron cannot go the Delta way?
Yes, the Delta really got us by surprise because extremely infectious. And this guy, Omicron, is even more infectious, but it's appearing at a time that the population immunity is the highest now. So at that reason, we can safely, just like the experience in other countries, that it'll come, there will be cases. If you go by RT-PCR, you will find a lot of cases. If you go sequencing, you will be able to identify. But in terms of pneumonia deaths, there will be very few cases.
Dr. Jamil, you want a final word on that? Do you also believe that the worst is over?
Well, if there is one lesson I've learned, Rajdeep, over the past 2 years, is to never say that. I would continue to say, don't panic, but keep your eyes on the ball.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Two views are emerging clearly. There are those who are saying that Omicron, because of its sheer contagiousness, seems to be a variant we should be seriously concerned about in this country. And there are those like Dr. Mulyal who are saying an element of herd immunity has set in, and that is perhaps the best way to respond to the emergence of Omicron. Dr. Pandit, I appreciate your also joining us here on the News Today this evening.